All right, folks. Well, thank you for also joining us today. My name is Brian DeLuca. I am a senior program manager here with the New Jersey Clean Energy Program. I've been with the OC program for almost 12 years, working in various respects into processing applications as well as managing programs. Here today we have Dawn Leslie as well as Jeff Crittenden. Dawn is an environmental engineer with 25 years of experience planning and designing wastewater treatment plants throughout the U.S. and Canada. Her work in the last 8 years has focused on improving energy efficiency at wastewater plants. Jeff is an energy efficiency expert with 25 years experience in large commercial and industrial sectors and focused on improving the customer experience through innovative programs. I want to obviously welcome everyone today to the call. This should be really, I'm hoping eye-opening for the entire group. The New Jersey Clean Energy Program, just to kind of give you a broad spectrum of what that is a statewide offering of various incentive programs, focused mainly on energy efficiency, which sounds fairly obvious. The program has a bevy of different programs meant to serve different types of customers. These are programs that can range from a very small energy efficiency project, such as lighting, to very complex whole facility, whole building type of programs as well. Really, I want to encourage everyone that is on this call to think about any energy projects that they may have, that if it's going to save energy, you should be talking to this program and its representatives, including myself, to see what that may be worth from a incentive rebate form. This is a program which is providing, I call them cash incentives, if you will, but this is mainly it's a check that'll be handed to you at the end of a process. There is some paperwork obviously involved with this, but the main thing I want to harp to everybody is that we are here to help. If you have any questions about your project, where it may qualify, anything like that, I want you to reach out to us to have that discussion. I hate to see good projects leave any potential funding on the table that they could have, simply gotten through some application paperwork to get that done. So, want to make sure everyone's aware of that. The Clean Energy Program funds are coming from what's called the Societal Benefits Charge, also known as SBC for short. You may see some other acronyms that may come about. A portion of that charge is what helps fund these programs. So most of the ratepayers throughout the state for homes, also obviously facilities such as wastewater groups, commercial facilities, retail, et cetera, they typically pay into this societal benefits charge. So hopefully maybe is a bit empowering that if you are paying into this fund, that you're hopefully getting some funds back towards your project. So I want to make sure that everyone's focused on that. We have a specific target here for the wastewater industry, in that we find that this sector of a customer, as we call it, is able to obtain lots of incentive benefits across many of our programs. There's a lot of opportunity here, and we want to make sure in the midst of you essentially trying to keep the process moving and running, because that's what your primary role is, that while you're thinking about energy efficiency, you're thinking about the program and the incentives that may play a part. With this presentation today, we're trying to, kind of talk the same language and try to draw, somewhat of that parallel in that, your efforts could also be provided incentives. And so we want to make sure that's not forgotten. Just some basic housekeeping items. Everyone is on mute right now, so we can keep everything moving. We have a chat window from the Zoom dialogue, which you can hopefully see at the bottom of your screen. If you click that, I would like you to, ask any questions that you have in that chat box. We plan to collect everything throughout the presentation, and then towards the end, we'll have that Q&A session where we will collect all of those questions and then try to answer them as best possible on this call. Obviously, if you have questions that maybe time is not allowing us to get to, or you have things that come up after this, you will have contact information to reach out to us to have that conversation. So don't feel like this is your one and only chance to get those questions out there. So I think with that, I will turn it over to Dawn to get started.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. Yeah, good morning, everyone. This is one of my favorite topics. It's not a topic that's come up a lot in wastewater. As Brian mentioned, I got into this business 25 years ago, and when I first started, we weren't talking about energy efficiency in wastewater. So I'm excited that we are talking about it now. I like working on this stuff. Looking forward to entertaining your questions at the end. Before we get to questions, we're just going to run through these topics and then have some time to have more of a discussion near the end. Starting with the challenges of energy efficiency in wastewater, I alluded to it just now. This industry has not historically thought much about energy efficiency. When I started planning and designing plants 25 years ago, nobody ever asked me how much energy will this process or this plant use. All that people asked me was, will it meet permit? Will it be able to hit peak flow 20 years from now? So that embedded in so that leads to a number of challenges that we face when we start to consider energy efficiency. There are physical challenges that I was part of building into your plants, and you guys are well aware of this. Equipment runs. The equipment is built to run all the time, and it's also engineered for the worst case scenarios. As I mentioned, peak flow 20 years from now. So the flexibility for turning things down is not very well engineered into your plants, and you know this better than anyone. I say that I run around now trying to fix the mistakes I made in the first part of my career. There's also regulatory challenges because the regulators have a pretty myopic focus on, as they should, and to a certain degree, they have a very strong focus, of course, on protecting public health and the environment. And that extreme focus leads to things like redundancy requirements. So if I'm gonna design for you a big pump, they want to make sure that you have two of them, but they don't ask the question, right, of when you have, or if you're going to have UV, make it double. When we put double in, it's often the case that because you have double, you tend to run double. But really, it's built to have that redundancy where a whole half of a system can be turned off and still achieve the permits. But our mindset, and that leads us to this sort of mindset, right? We have cultural challenges as well. Because most plants never see an energy bill, it goes to City Hall. Most of the folks at the plant have never seen the energy bill. And because we are awarded and patted on the back for compliance, which we should be, but no one's looking at efficiency. Also, we are an overachieving industry. We feel like if we're required to have a discharge limit of 30-30 or 10-10, whatever it is, if we can discharge 2-2, that's better. And so we tend to be very overachieving about our performance, which is a great quality in a lot of ways. And it also has invisible energy costs that we don't often pay attention to. Also, in a lot of our organizations, the folks who have sustainability goals and are ranting to us about sustainability goals, like the mayor, like elected officials, are not the ones who sign our permits. So we at the plant who are responsible for the permit, we hear the talk about energy maybe, and sustainability, but at the end of the day, we're the ones who sign the permit. We're the ones who are on the hook for compliance. So it tends to be a disconnect in our conversation. I need to sort of clear this question because, and Brian alluded to it a little bit in the introduction, but it is kind of a funny question, like why would energy programs, which go back to energy utilities at the root of it, why would they be paying us to use less of what they're selling us? And this is why. Because the demand for electricity is always increasing, conservation is, and it's difficult to build new capacity, right? Where are you going to put the new nuclear plant? Where are you going to put the new coal-fired plant? Where are you going to put the new solar panels or whatever it is your new generation is going to be? It's going to be, all of it is going to be way more expensive than conservation. If we can eliminate waste in the system, we can delay the building of very expensive new generation capacity. That's not just expensive, it's extremely difficult to site. Where are you even going to put it? And then as Brian mentioned, there are conservation funds in place. And they've been in place for decades. And so you've been paying into them both on your home bills, but also at the plant. The plant's been paying into these funds. Societal benefit charges is how it's how it's described in New Jersey, but around the country they call them different things. They're basically conservation funds, and you've been paying into it. So the programs that exist to help you do conservation are really you getting some of that money back that you've been paying into. And the utility programs and the state programs like New Jersey Clean Energy have had historic challenges reaching the wastewater systems with these programs. They're way better. They've been historically way better at getting conservation into residential and commercial because they don't tend to understand, when they come talk to us, they don't tend to understand our goals and processes. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit here with another slide. Their programs from where we sit look very difficult to use. We're not experts in them, and that's why we're talking to you today and offering you some help with using the programs. And also, we tend to not speak the same language, right? In the wastewater industry, we speak in units of million gallons per day, milligrams per liter, and the utility folks and the clean energy program folks tend to speak in the language of kilowatts and megawatt hours. And those are different languages. And so there's a little bit of a communication barrier there. So I just want to sort of point out, within the wastewater industry, these are the things that we have developed this industry to do, and we're extremely good at that, right? We protect health and the environment. We meet regulations now and in the future. We're very aware of what's coming. We are getting ready for new regulations all the time. And we also have this top priority of keeping operators safe and also keeping them sane so that we want our operation to be smooth and crisis-free. And that helps us be more productive. That helps us be more efficient and effective at the plant and avoid crises. And it's also true that we can do it more efficiently and we can accomplish. We still want to keep in mind that those first three goals are still the primary goals, and all of the things that we'll be talking with you about in this presentation in no way threaten any of those things. In fact, in some cases, we actually do a better job with effluent quality and some other things, but we also can save energy. And now I'm going to turn it over, I'm actually going to talk a little bit more about this. So New Jersey's Clean Energy Program is something we want to just clarify for you a little bit. What the benefits of this program are is that what we want to provide to you is knowledge, support, and tools, right? And that knowledge and support and tools is all focused on helping you achieve energy savings while still accomplishing those main goals of meeting permit, keeping operators safe and productive. We work with wastewater plant staff to find good energy efficiency opportunities and to match them up with the most beneficial incentive programs. So as an example, here's some example project savings. We there's just some examples there for you to take a look at, right? Ways that we save energy and provide some incentives to help you save energy, both in capital projects and also in how you operate the plants. And now I'm going to ask Jeff Crittenden to talk to you a little bit more about these next slides.
So in terms of value, proposition, the clean energy program goes beyond just energy savings. Of course, that is the primary metric. But as Dawn mentioned, you have tremendous and enormous competing priorities that we're keenly aware of. And so we want to reiterate, all of the holistic benefits, such as, reduced maintenance costs. Enormous scholarship and study has gone into, increased equipment life being directly attributed to process efficiency. Assuming you have, let's say, longer lot forming at peak efficiency. We try to engage the staff, your operators, engage more of the facility personnel to gain a more comprehensive understanding of your operation, and then additional value props. Obviously, the stewardship, the environmental relation benefits of it are all to echo what Brian said earlier. We are a funded service that is here to help you. Next slide. So we wanted to stop and bring the conversation back to wastewater specific concerns. Here is an end use analysis for a wastewater facility. As Dawn often reminds me, this is intended to show one wastewater plant as a specific, since you have highly variable operations. It's kind of funny, you can perform a similar exercise for multiple automotive plants and come up with very eerily similar pie charts that would span across the different automotive plants, but we don't have that luxury here. You do have highly unique operations, but this specific plant or particular plant is used for illustrative purposes. When I look at it, the first thing I notice as an energy engineer is just how small the lighting contribution is. If you have or have had energy auditors through your facility with, let's say, an HVAC and or a lighting background, you probably experience frustration with the event in total, since most of your energy is attributed to other things, such as aeration basins and sediment tanks and sludge processing, etc. Developing this end use analysis, by doing that, it serves as a guidepost towards finding or directing towards the greatest opportunity within your plant, and is a very useful tool that we often deploy. Here are some additional wastewater specific opportunities. These were curated, specifically to illustrate the intrinsic nature to wastewater operations. As mentioned before, identifying plant optimization or operational efficiency opportunities is a foundational element that fits a more effective succession of events as it relates to assessing energy within a particular facility. The corollary in, say, the commercial energy or commercial building world is, Energy Star strongly recommends that, retro-commissioning takes place before any capital projects are even considered. And so we kind of, mimic a similar methodology. The other thing you'll notice too is the side benefit of these opportunities specifically is they fit the low cost, no cost category, which is certainly not difficult to cost justify and are often absorbed within existing O&M budgets. But to repeat what we discussed earlier, we're vigilant on the full ramifications of the quality of your process, the necessary codes and standards that you have to adhere to. And, we don't sacrifice any of those, all important priorities, just to do a behavioral measure for behavioral sake. In other words, we don't, simply recommend that you turn a mixer off for turning it off. Say there's often a corresponding event that directly ties to that recommendation. An example in this case, you see listed the air compressor pressure reduction. In all likelihood, there are leaks in your compressed air system. It's not enough to just address those, but we find that reducing the system pressure by 20% is easily achievable and provides no disruption to end-use compressed air system when it's done complementary or at the same time as fixing and repairing compressed air leaks. And then to that point, we understand the difficult nature of fixing leaks. Many of them are hard to get at. In some cases, need to dismantle machinery. But by working in close collaboration with with your, let's say, preferred air service companies, we can get the most, cost-effective approach to finding and fixing where it makes sense, and then looking at the overall control system of your compressed air system in total, and likely able to identify a low-cost, no-cost opportunity like a pressure reduction. Next slide. Here we segment, what we call custom projects with operation and maintenance initiatives. By custom projects, I mean, those of you that may be familiar with the clean energy program know, there is a, quote unquote custom program. For the sake of this discussion, custom projects are, would be classified as, equipment retrofits, or let's say shiny new parts, to simplify. This chart ties back to, the core methodology, which is to provide holistic facility solutions and combined O&M savings with custom project savings. It's the sum of the parts, but it also lends itself to increasing savings over time. If you are, about to embark in any kind of carbon reduction initiative, or let's say even get involved with developing a corporate environmental mission, the two key components here is it has to be long-term, and it's just like a business. It needs to grow over time. The tried and true methods of, low cost O&M feeding medium cost, which then feeds capital cost, still remains to this day the most effective investment strategy, even in the wastewater space. So long-term and holistic is how the clean energy program proposes to work with you. So we wanted to illustrate some customer case studies. The clean energy program has been serving this space through multiple iterations, and we wanted to show previous program participation, but also discuss the various programs that are available today. So this first one is for the Evesham Municipal Utilities Authority. One of the programs we offer is, you see P for P, so it stands for pay for performance. And it is what it sounds like. This program goes beyond conventional, let's say, custom or prescriptive. And, when we see a whole building opportunity or multiple opportunities that span across your plant and multiple pieces of equipment, this program serves as an effective tool to implement simultaneous measures and enjoy significant benefits of a large incentive opportunities. And so, this is a is once again speaks to our approach of, not just trying to find one opportunity. If there are multiple available, we work with you to develop these, and you see the benefits. This particular project, the total incentive was close to $200,000, and the lifetime savings, the savings over the life of the project is close to 15 gigawatt hours. So it's a very highly effective program where, especially in instances where you're looking to potentially retrofit end-of-life equipment, and or planning other capital expenditures, we can do a deep dive and try to identify multiple opportunities to capitalize on this cash incentive. Next slide. So our direct install program is highly unique. Having worked with multiple direct install programs across the country, this is by far one of the most comprehensive and effective in terms of, providing a menu of retrofits that we cover. For Brick Township, we went beyond, what you would normally see as typical lighting and low flow fixtures. In addition to those, we installed boilers and or hot water heaters and energy efficiency split air conditioning system. The total incentive and or subsidy in this case was 70% of the 70% defrayment of upfront capital costs. So something to point out as well is the dual fuel opportunities that we're able to capture with the measures, and or when you factor in the gas and electric savings over the life of the equipment. This is what became what I believe we refer to in the energy industry as a no-brainer. And so finally, one of my favorite examples, it's near and dear to my heart, combined heat power, which, comes in multiple forms, but ultimately it's just simply efficient. It's an effective, in some cases, it's highly customizable, but in some cases, it's an effective distributed generation resource. It could probably enjoy a better reputation than that warrants it. But most systems, if properly designed, have just an enormous capacity to leverage waste heat and increase both the gas side efficiency, but also the efficiency of the electric output. This particular project for Bergen County leveraged a renewable form of biomass energy or bioenergy, which is energy from plants and plant-derived materials. You can even capture fumes from landfills, which contain methane, to use that as a direct energy, renewable energy source. You see the system efficiency accomplished here, 82% as a system efficiency far exceeds anything that can be achieved from individual central plants of this size, in this case 1.4 megawatts. This is a marquee project we're very proud of, and Bergen County received an incentive check of $2.5 million. And so, back to our name, Clean Energy Program, we would love to assist in the development of projects like this that have tremendous environmental impact.
So let's just step into a brief discussion about the wastewater needs process and culture. Many of us have been attending conferences in our industry where they talk, we're talking generally speaking about this idea of the wastewater utility of the future. There is a transformation happening in our industry, and it's getting us to think about permit compliance a little differently. And the energy efficiency work that we do helps us with that. And also is having us think more about this concept of resource recovery. That we're not, the word waste is embedded in the word wastewater, right? But it's helping us transform how we think about that. That in fact, we're resource recovery facilities, that the waste in the wastewater is really also a resource. We are harvesting energy from that. We are remembering the fertilizer benefit a little more clearly, starting to sort of think differently about wastewater as a resource. And also we're looking at having a higher level of professionalism in how we engage our employees, better teamwork and communication. And these things, the energy efficiency work that we do supports all of these goals and helps in the transition to the wastewater utility of the future. Being aware of and managing our energy it helps with all of these goals of this future-looking transformation that we're seeing in our industry. And in this next set of slides, we want to introduce you to an approach we've been using effectively in other parts of the country called strategic energy management. the benefits of this process is that we move to reducing energy use, reducing costs, improving operations, and improving the stewardship with which we use ratepayer funds through a process that changes how we do things. We have an executive sponsorship and also support from the grassroots level or the staff level of a plant. And we change how we operate the plants through a plan, do, check, act process to achieve these benefits. And so strategically, we look at how we've been using energy in the past. If you look at this chart, it's got time across the bottom, the x-axis, and it looks at, we develop an energy, we can for plants, develop an energy intensity model where we look at historical energy use and develop a model that mimics that energy use. It's not enough to save energy at the plant if we don't know how we're historically using energy. So we have to look historically, not just at the energy use, but how it relates to the flow that we treat and the load that we treat and the weather conditions. Because when I look at how we're using energy today at a plant, if it's less than yesterday, I don't know if that's because I'm being more efficient or because the flow has gone down. So we develop a model that takes into account the drivers of energy at the plant, so flow, weather, load, and then we start a strategic energy management process as shown by that dotted line, the vertical line there. When we start doing strategic energy management and we take actions like reducing the pressure of the plant water or the non-pot water, lowering a deep DO set point, actively managing our wet well levels, installing LEDs, as we implement operational changes like this, we start to see the actual energy use of the plant come down below what the model would predict. And that savings, seeing that energy, actual energy use go down below what we used to use at those flows and loads, tells us that we're having energy savings. It helps us quantify that the actions that we're taking are actually having an impact on the energy use of the plant. We are changing through specific actions our plant's use of energy while still having same or better effluent quality and crisis-free and sometimes even a little smoother operation of the plant. When we embark on strategic energy management, we tend to do it in a 2-year process. That's one of the way we've zeroed in on the way it kind of works best at plants, where we will engage. I'm engaged right now and with actually our team is engaged with probably in excess of 30 plants around the country who are, have embarked on this 2-year process. We're in various stages with all these plants, and it'll take it'll take the shape of these 7 different. We see the 1 through 7 numbers are workshops that we offer in a cohort structure. We get a cohort of plants in an area to join together, and they take 7 workshops over the course of 2 years. They build a baseline. We work with them to build a baseline energy model, and we do energy scans of the plants. We do some process optimization training. Those arrows are happening in the background. And ultimately, we help these plants transform how they do their operations so that they, in addition to managing the equipment for permit compliance, they're managing their energy use. And through that, we've had tremendous success with plants around the country, saving on average 7% of the energy used, but in many, many plants, double digits, 10, 15, we've even seen 23% savings of electricity by using this structure. So with that, we want to move into the opportunity for folks to ask questions. We want to save time for questions because I think it helps at not knowing who's on the line. I think it's best if we make sure that there's time for folks to really ask the questions that are most important to you. So we really give you the information that's most helpful. So Brian, I don't know if you have questions queued up.
I have not seen any questions come in,
Okay.
which either says that we did a great job explaining everything, or folks are still somewhat kind of coming up with those. But I could certainly talk to some of the more common questions that have come up about the programs and the opportunities and the incentives, which may be helpful and may spur a few questions from the group. So certainly want to implore everybody that's on the call to use that chat box to answer in any kind of question that you have. We have quite a bit of time. We don't have to obviously use the entire time of the meeting here, but I'm starting to see one come in, so that's great. Okay, so I have a question here. Is there an opportunity to have projects qualify while they're under construction or after they've been completed? Simple answer is yes, but it also can be no. So certain programs offer what's called a prescriptive incentive. These are measures that would be like your common lighting upgrades, your HVAC upgrades. These would not be typically for probably your process improvement type of items, but more the standard, boiler, furnace, lighting controls, things that we call prescriptive, which means that the program has figured out a set incentive that can be simply awarded for a product. Meaning, if I'm going from a fluorescent, light bulb to a LED tube or a brand new fixture, we have a incentive available for that at a predetermined value. $10, $20, $100, whatever happens to be based on what you're doing. Through those prescriptive measures, as we call them, essentially you can apply retroactively, which means that if it's within 1 year of the purchase of that equipment, you can send in that application to get considered for incentives. So the simple answer again is yes, that's possible. For your more complex, custom type of projects that are mostly with the process that we've talked about, those would be considered likely custom measures, and those do require pre-approval prior to implementing. Hopefully that answers the question. We have another one here, which is a standalone CHP running on digester gas eligible? Yes, that can be eligible. It would be a biogas type of project. The combined heat and power application provides guidance on that criteria. We could certainly talk about that more offline if you'd like, but again, simple answer is yes.
I still want the questions to come in. I just changed the slide so folks can actually get this information while we're answering questions. They can actually see something useful.
Yeah, so some of the common things that I'll just start talking a bit more about in my experience with the programs as we wait for the questions to potentially come in. A lot of questions because we have a number of programs, and we touched upon only a few. You saw a case study for a CHP project. You saw a case study for a pay-for-performance project, and you saw one for a direct install project. We have a few other programs available that are simply providing incentives for, again, that prescriptive equipment, just a single measure, a large comprehensive, project, whatever it happens to be, which is going back to what I said originally in that, if you have a project that can potentially save energy, you should be talking to us, and we will guide you towards the appropriate program that seems to make sense, and we'll tell you about those nuances. Paperwork has to be filled out. Again, we are here to help, so reach out, and we're happy to streamline that for you. Another question that has just come in is CHP from waste heat off a incinerator eligible? So you're collecting waste heat, which I assume would then be, so you're recovering the heat from what I'm getting off the question here, and you're repurposing it with the CHP. Not sure if I'm fully clear on that, but I can state that we do have an incentive for collection of that waste heat to be used to generate power. So we do have a incentive in the CHP program, which speaks to heat recovery, which would lead towards energy generation. Hopefully that answers your question, Dylan. Thank you. Also like to mention that, with any of these programs, it's very common for you to work with contractors because you're not going to do all of this work yourself in many cases. I always stress that there are many contractors in the tri-state region that are very familiar with these programs and can help handle the paperwork for you, submit documentation to the program to get incentives. If you're doing contract work, I would always implore you to include a line to say, must, pursue potential incentives and file for them to procure money from these programs. It's a simple line in there. A lot of these contractors will not balk at that because, if it helps sell the project and they want your actual business, then it behooves them to want to help you in that role. So don't feel like you're on your own to kind of figure this all out. Okay, I have another question here. When trying to identify potential projects, is the local government energy audit a good place to begin? Simple answer, yes it is. The LGEA audit, for a short, another acronym for you, is essentially going to provide what's called a ASHRAE Level 2 audit. So that's not going to get investment grade, but it's a great place to start if you're not quite sure where to begin or where the opportunity lies. The audit program also provides you with the opportunity to truly have a third-party look at your operation, which is nice because the auditing firm is the program, essentially. So our only stake in the game, we're not trying to sell you anything. We're not trying to push a certain product. We're trying to give you a good insight as to here are the opportunities, and then it also gives you that insight into what programs you may be eligible for to pursue these type of upgrades. So yes, I think if you don't have those things identified with your own staff or your own group, that's a great place to start. Okay, looking through here. So yeah. Back to my comments a bit, use your contractor to pursue these incentives. Talk with us to make sure that everyone's on the same page. There are certain programs that are very quick and simple, like our what's called Smart Start program. That's where you'll see lots of what's called prescriptive measures in there. These are simple applications to be filled out. The incentives can range from $5 all the way up to $500,000. So we see all types of different projects come in of all different sizes. So, and many of these programs, they allow you to submit multiple applications. So don't feel like this is a one and done every year situation as well. We want to make sure you understand that if maybe you only have funding to do one project right now, that's okay, but maybe you want to secure funding for another project. These are applications that don't have a requirement for you to follow through. That's not to say we don't want to see applications, or we want to see applications come in and they don't go anywhere, but there should be no hopeful apprehension to getting the application in, getting your approval letter to tell you how much the project is worth, and then deciding if you want to move ahead or not. A lot of times that approval letter can really help motivate decision makers to follow through with a project. Another couple questions that come up typically is, how do I get paid? When do I get paid? That's something typical that'll happen quite often in the instance where many of the applications simply get paid a check at the end of the process. Some of our more comprehensive programs, such as Pay for Performance and CHP, they have a staggered payment schedule, which may sound a bit cumbersome. However, it is beneficial in some cases for cash flow reasons, that as you're developing a very large project, there are certain milestones that can help get you paid along the process. So for example, CHP is one of those things where we will pay for a portion of your overall incentive once purchase of the equipment has been made. Then we pay another big chunk of money when the installation occurs, and then a chunk of money after the system proves out performance. So that can be helpful for cash flow reasons. Like any state program, any incentive program, whatever you want to call it, there is paperwork involved. There are applications to be filled out. There are, you know, checks and balances that have to happen. There are technical reviews that'll also occur. That's all going to be part of the process, but understand that we're here to try to help as much as possible. I see we have a new question that's come in. Is there any follow-up to NJCEP after P3 project implementation to see if energy savings continue as verified? So in the pay for performance program, just as the program sounds like, and I know Jeff touched on this, you know, it is paying for performance. So what that means is that after a P4P project is completed, there is a 1-year, 12-month utility bill look back, which gets weather normalized. There is a program tool that a P4P program partner will do for you to come up with the actual savings of the project. So that's the point where it'll look at, say you were estimating to save 15% overall or 20% overall, and you come in at 18%, then your third incentive may be adjusted downward slightly. If you save more than what you were estimating, maybe 22% or something higher than what you estimated, you can get more money on that verified energy performance period for that year. There is no process after that 1-year verification that the program has to pay any additional incentives. There was an offering that was available, I think, a couple of years back that tried to do something like that, but there weren't very many takers, even though there was a incentive available for that additional effort after that first year. Thanks for the question.
Brian, this is Dawn. Let me
yep.
just mention that as a general thought process or a way of thinking about this, anything that draws electricity at your plant that you're going to touch, if you're going to replace it, if you're going to upgrade it, if you're going to put in a new process, if it draws electricity, it's worth talking to us before you get very far along the way. And just let us talk with you. I think, you know, if it's not appropriate to apply for incentives, we'll tell you, but I think what tends to happen at our plants is something needs to be replaced and we just replace it in kind without thinking about it, you know? And that moment when you're thinking about, okay, we have to upgrade that pump station, that those pumps need to be replaced. If it's 2 big pumps and we can provide some incentive money so that in the future you have 2 big ones and a little one, that jockey pump might end up saving you a lot of money in the long run. If we can help incentivize that installation being a little different going forward so that it's a little more flexible and it can hit low flows more efficiently, it can that small pump might operate on its best efficiency point for half of the operating hours that you need the pumps to run. You might be running on that small pump, say in the middle of the night, every single night for years, and that little pump is running right on its best efficiency point. Whereas if you had just simply replaced the 2 big pumps in kind, yeah, they would be more efficient than the original 2 big pumps, but the 1 big pump running in the middle of the night is way off its best efficiency point. So there's an example of, you know, if you don't contact us, we can't think about it that way. We have these green glasses that we wear, that we look at your project and we say, how's it operating now? Can we get that to operate for you in the long run more efficiently? Or blowers, you know, yeah, replacing old blowers with new turbo blowers is great, but I want to know, can we get 8-to-1 turn down on your aeration system? Aeration is a huge energy user at the plant, and 8-to-1 turn down is now possible when we think hard about not just having 2 blowers the same size, but instead having 3 blowers and having one be a different size again. So you have something smaller that can hit low loading periods more effectively.
All right, Dawn, thank you. See a question here up, which I think has been answered. So the question was, will the presentation be available for download? It'll be available on the New Jersey Clean Energy Program Learning Center, and the link has been provided, which I'm assuming maybe after this webinar, we can send that link out in case folks don't have it and need it. So, okay. The other thing I want to talk about is for folks that are unfamiliar with the Energy Clean Energy Program, maybe never heard of it possibly, This is a program which has been running for many, many years. Currently, I estimate we are committing, meaning approving applications every month in the order of maybe $9 or so million for various projects. We are paying out about the same every single month. So this is not a fly-by-night thing. This is not something entirely new. This is a long-standing program that is well-funded for these projects. So again, that's why we'll keep harping that. I think providing your group's benefits, to look into these incentives. Yes, the paperwork is certainly there and has to get done. But if you can procure thousands of dollars and potentially millions of dollars for certain types of projects, I think it makes a bit of sense to get that paperwork done and submitted and get that money. So just keep that in mind. Okay. I'm currently not seeing any other questions right now. I think I can give it a few moments if that's okay for the group. Also, I do want to mention that, if you're looking for a one-on-one meeting, we are happy to certainly facilitate that. We have account managers from our outreach group that'd be more than happy to come visit you, meet with you and others to talk about your possible project. If an in-person meeting isn't doable based on schedules, we can have a phone conversation to follow up on those things. So we're very aggressive and eager to talk to you folks about your opportunities because you have so many. So I think it's critical that you follow through on that. So just want to make sure that that's out there for you. Also want to mention that, these are programs that run on a fiscal year basis, which means they start July 1 and they end June 30th. You'll see lots of our applications will say that everything ends on June 30th. Keep in mind that every year people have a bit of a panic and they think the program's going to end. However, we fully plan to have a program, obviously, the following year. It's very typical, but we do have changes that tend to be made every year. Incentives can be increased, decreased, new programs, different types of programs, different requirements can come out. That's where being on the actual listserv can be very helpful that you see on your screen right now, staying in tune to that. I do assure you that if you do sign up to the newsletter or the listserv, you're not going to get spammed. You're not going to get an email every single day about something, but it can at least keep you in the know about what's kind of going on. Because while we'd love to make sure that we can reach every single person, that has opportunity to use these programs, feasibility-wise, that would be very difficult. I do want to also mention that unique for this fiscal year is that we put out what's called enhanced incentives. So there are enhanced incentives which are provided to facilities in an urban enterprise zone or an opportunity zone, as well as county organizations, municipal organizations, and also K through 12 public schools. So those enhanced incentives, what that means is that on a program which we didn't cover here, but Smart Start for those prescriptive measures, if we were offering $10 for your LED light bulb, we're now offering $20 for that light bulb. So that's something that should be hopefully compelling for folks to take advantage of that enhanced incentive. We also have enhanced incentives available on the direct install program, as well as the pay for performance program as well. So we really implore you to, if you're not looking at the stuff now, you should be, because there is no guarantee that these enhanced incentives will continue going forward. So I mean, obviously, in the coming months, we will learn more about the next fiscal year program to start July 1. But as of right now, we have these great enhanced incentives available. Getting your application in, put your foot in the door. You don't need to get approved this fiscal year or complete your project this fiscal year to get those enhanced incentives. You simply just need to apply with your paperwork. I will put your foot in the door so that you will be considered for those incentives under that program year. A lot of folks think that when they submit to these programs that they have to be completed by the end of the fiscal year, or calendar year, something like that. So just keep that in mind. I could probably rattle off a number of things all day long, but I don't want to do that for the entire group here. But I'm not seeing any new questions. So I think with that, Dawn, Jeff, do you have anything else to add as we look to close this up, I think?
Nope, just encourage folks to feel free to reach out to us at the contact information you see there. We're happy to just talk about ideas, and it won't commit you to anything. It's just we like to talk about this stuff. We'd like to help folks figure it out, and we're here to help.
Okay.
Yeah, ditto. Look forward to serving you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for your time. Appreciate it.